everybody. Welcome to ESPN FC Live, your weekly show on YouTube. We are here 12 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays and Fridays and recapping all the action from Europe, including the Premier League on the weekends as well. I'm Luis Miguel Echegaray. You better know me as LME because it's just quicker to say. And with me, of course, is the legend, former Liverpool midfielder, West Ham, Sheffield United, Everton, Scotland international. In 1999, by the way, I was there at Wembley when he scored the only goal against England in the Euro 2000 playoffs. Yes, my friend, we go way back, Don Hutchison.
Yeah,
how are you, Don?
I'm great, mate. I'm recovering off last night's game at Anfield. It was incredible, but I'm very good, mate. Looking forward to the show. Should be a corker.
Absolutely. Were you there last night, Don?
No, I was watching it indoors. I was sitting there with a tea, and it's worse watching it indoors because you're sitting watching it on the telly and you're biting your nails and you're desperate for your team to win. And it was just, you know, like some games, LME, you can look at it and you can look at it from a tactical standpoint and you try and get a little bit deep and you can try and go right into the heart and soul of what's going on. I don't think you could last night. You just sat back and you watched two outstanding teams, two of the best 5 teams in the tournament, go toe-to-toe. There's a large part of me thought that Liverpool were really unlucky in terms of the first 25 minutes. They could have been 2 or 3 clear. When you put your head on, you go, well, they're really lucky last week. So the more the game went on and when it went to extra time, PSG looked younger, they look fitter, they look sharper, and I think they just about deserve to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, that's where we begin, everybody. Of course, PSG's win over Liverpool. Arne Slot himself called it the best game he had ever been a part of, and rightly so. A tremendous night for Luis Enrique's side in a pulsating game, as Don was saying, where Ousmane Dembélé made it 1-0 on the night, evening out to score in aggregate. And after a back and forth, as Don was saying, it went to penalties, and it was that giant Italian again on English soil, Gianluigi Donnarumma, who was magnificent on the night, just not just in penalties and led by his role in PKs. Darwin Núñez misses one, Curtis Jones misses one, all PSG scores, and there you have it. PSG return to the quarterfinals. You were talking about it already, Don, about how it was just such a pulsating game, emotional. Of course, you played for the club, of course. Let's focus on this for a second before we obviously turn to Liverpool. But PSG, back to the quarterfinal, they're just a different animal under Luis Enrique, would you say?
It's amazing, isn't it? The transformation since the sort of semi-galacticos, the likes of Neymar and Messi and Mbappe. And I never felt comfortable because the work rate that they didn't do off the ball, it gave them no chance really of winning the Champions League. Now you're looking at a group of players, and my word, I thought some players last night were outstanding. I thought Nuno Mendes, I think he's the best left back in world football, not just off the back of last night, but the work that he's been doing in the last 18 months. Hakimi's always been a brilliant player. I've got to say, in the middle midfield, when you go to somewhere like Anfield and the pressure's high and it's quite hostile, you want players that are going to calm everything down. I thought Neves and Vitinha especially, before you even mention the likes of Dembele and Barcola, I thought the midfield two were just incredible at getting on the ball, taking it in tight areas. And PSG now, I mean, you'd have to say, since that sort of Galactico days, probably now, I said the 2 best teams in the tournament, they can go really deep.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't lost a game since November when they lost 1-0 to Bayern Munich. They just continue to roll on. You mentioned the change of squad and personnel. It's no longer the all glory and no guts type of squad. It's now all about talent. I thought getting Vicha Kvaratskhelia in January was a great move. He reminds me actually a lot, Don, of when JJ Okocha used to play for PSG. It's that kind of, I saw in the comments on Instagram, Vava Okocha. It was kind of similar because he does so many different things and it's so good for the Luis Enrique system. Dembélé, by the way, 21 goals in 16 matches. Unbelievable. But Donnarumma is the hero. Let's talk about... Did you see his
penalty? Yeah. Did you see his penalty? When he stands up, going to take it left-footed, that just goes completely onto his right foot. I mean, it's
so scary. Of course, he was a hero for Italy in Euro 2021 in the summer when Italy won over England. But he was remarkable. But it wasn't just the penalties, Don. I thought throughout the game, he was really, really good. So brave in putting himself out there. All right, let's turn the table here on Liverpool. What do you make of the performance overall? Was it just too much pressure? Because obviously that they're focusing so much on the Premier League title. There's a Carabao Cup final this Sunday. What did you make of Liverpool's performance in this?
I thought they were really good, mate. Honestly, I really did. I thought the start that you'd want at home, you'd want to put PSG on the back foot. They did that. They created chances. Mo Salah had a couple of chances where the first couple of minutes you'd back him for your life to score with an open goal. Then Nuno Mendes comes across and put the block on. He was probably 5-6 yards away. And then a couple of minutes after that, he gets, and I say this very loosely because if Mo Salah sees it back again, he actually got fouled in the box, which would have been a penalty, but he was brave and stayed on his feet. Do you remember he tried to into the bottom left-hand corner? If he goes down, he might have a penalty. Then there was more chances and more pressure. And then that's when the likes of Vitinha and João Neves got on the ball, calmed everything down. Then PSG, the last 20 minutes of the first half, grew into it a little bit. Then half-time came around. Liverpool needed that break to try and reset, to try and go again with loads of guts and loads of legs and pressure. They'd done exactly that. Donnarumma pulled off a fantastic save from a corner where the header looked like it was going in. Mo Salah had another one off the line. And then the more the game went on, PSG grew into it. That's when I felt they were going to be favourites. But from a tactical side, from a Liverpool standpoint, there wasn't really too much to sort of criticise them for. I thought they were outstanding. I think Arne Slot said that. He said the best team we faced in the tournament by far, best team we faced all season by far. I think we were looking at two teams at a very exceptional standard, and the margins were always going to be so narrow. And you can look at the chances that Liverpool created, but don't forget, they carved out some good chances as well. Once they took the lead, they had a couple of chances after that to take the game completely away from Liverpool. So I think when you dissect last night, you have to bring in last week as well. Yeah. And then you analyse the two games overall, and you have to say PSG deserved to go through. But I thought Liverpool played well.
Yeah, they did. I mean, listen, PSG are the deserved winners. Like, just over two legs, they're the deserved winners, 100%. Yes, we can criticize Darwin Núñez for his penalty, but had it not been for his assist for Harvey Elliott in the first leg, that they wouldn't even be, in that situation in the first place. Curtis Jones also missed a penalty. So it's really about PSG and what they did over the course of two legs. And as you said, Liverpool played a good game. Thanks for the questions, everybody. They're coming in. Here's one for you, Don. I mentioned it. On Sunday, they play the Carabao Cup final against Newcastle United. Trent Alexander-Arnold obviously came off injured yesterday as well, so that's not going to be great news. I know that it's going to be, I guess, mentally challenging for Arne Slot to try and pick up his team, or maybe not. Maybe they'll just refocus and be ready. But here's the question.
Good game to play,
Yeah, well, here's the question for that. Yeah. The question is this: how will this result, right, the loss to PSG, affect Liverpool ahead of the League Cup final? What do you think?
The result will have zero impact. It's more the energy levels. It's more the energy levels going into extra time and putting so much into trying to beat PSG in a Champions League game where mentally you've got to be at it for 180 minutes and the penalties. The result, you can go out in a game, and Liverpool, Arne Slot said it, they went out in the right way. If Liverpool had lost 3-0, 4-0 last night, or got completely demolished, then you go, oh, wow, like we're not as good as Liverpool, not as good as what you thought they were. They actually were. So you can take away from the exit in the Champions League, there's a way to lose a game. There's a way to go out, and on pens, as we know, it's a little bit of a lottery. Some people call it skill, which it is, but it's pressure. I think it's more mentally and physically. How much did they put into last night, which was completely everything? So what you wouldn't want from a Liverpool, you wouldn't want Liverpool playing a Leicester or a Southampton, and you can look and go, that sounds a little bit crazy because they're down at the bottom of the league. There'd be no sort of adrenaline in the players. What the game is next is a cup final. So it's very, very easy for the Liverpool players to get rid of the PSG game and go into a Carabao Cup final when you can lift a trophy. So result-wise, I think zero impact.
Yeah, and I think being in a neutral venue like Wembley is probably going to help them as well. Yeah. It's an added element as well. Yeah, it should be an exciting Carabao Cup final. Trent Alexander-Arnold obviously almost certainly not going to be a part of it. Before we move on, very quickly, reports, it's not reports, he said it. Virgil van Dijk basically nullifying any kind of report saying that he's agreed to a contract, saying, no, I haven't even made up my mind yet. How much does that weigh in, do you think? Because now we're approaching April here, Don Hutchison, and we haven't had any updates on Salah, on Trent, and obviously on Virgil van Dijk. Does that weigh on anything? What do you make of that?
Doesn't matter going into the game because their attitudes have been exceptional since we've been talking about this since day one. But what I'd like some information. And I think the fans, Liverpool fans, would like some information from Liverpool's board and their chief executive and sporting director, where you are. I mean, when Virgil got asked the question last night, he went, no update, no one knows, I don't know. The question should have been, have you been offered a contract? That should have been the question, because then it puts him on the spot and makes him, which he's very, very honest anyway. He would have to actually answer it and say, well, yes, I have been asked the question, or no, I haven't. But I think Liverpool fans were crying out for information from the board to say, look, where are we at with this? You know, have you offered the three guys a contract? Are you waiting until the end of the season? Have the three guys told you they're not willing to communicate at the moment? Because it's all very, very bizarre. I understand the Trent one, and I think most Liverpool fans would probably accept that he's going to go to Real Madrid. But the other two, in terms of Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk, come on, guys, you've got to give the Liverpool fans some information here.
Yeah, it's getting closer and closer to uncertainty turning over some kind of negative thinking. But regardless, there is a Carabao Cup final and there is a Premier League title that they can taste it.
Well, they
can taste it, but I know everybody's telling me calm down, but come on, it's almost there. But before anything, silverware, the first one, by the way, for Arne Slot, as this Sunday, they will face Newcastle United in the Carabao Cup final. All right, let's move on from some more matches of Tuesday's action in the Champions League. Barcelona, Lamine Yamal and Rafinha. Woo, they shine once again, Don, as Barcelona take care of business at their Barcelona's Olympic Stadium over Benfica. 17-year-old Yamal set up Rafinha with one of the most delicious assists for the opener in the 11th minute. Otamendi gets an even game there, but it's 2-1 in aggregate. And then Yamal scores a ridiculous goal to make it 3-1 in aggregate. He becomes the youngest player in Champions League history to score both an assist in the same match. Rafinha scored again in the 42nd minute. So the game was done. And, you know, it's done for Barcelona. They're through in the quarterfinals. They obviously haven't won. The last time they won the Champions League was 10 years ago. It was a 3-1 win. It was also in Germany, that final. It was the last MSN, Messi, Neymar, and Suarez. So it's been a while since they've won a Champions League. Here's a question for you, Don. At Barcelona, are they going under the radar in this year's Champions League to win it all? What do you think?
I think they're going under the radar because I think Liverpool, I think many people are looking at likes of Liverpool and PSG before yesterday and Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. They have to be in the conversation because of how they're playing. I mean, Rafinha, people, I don't really like the Ballon d'Or chat because it just seems as though every other day it's Ballon d'Or. It's Mo Salah for the Ballon d'Or. Oh, he's lost. So now it's Rafinha's turn to be mentioned for the Ballon d'Or. Oh, Harry Kane scored last night. He's mentioned for the Ballon d'Or as well.
Yeah,
so
recency bias. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm fans and I guess pundits or journalists, whoever, we talk about the Ballon d'Or like every other day in terms of like whoever's like shining on the night can be in question to try and win it. Let's just see where everyone's at the end of the season. But Rafinha's having an amazing season. I mean, I think Barca, LME, are one of these teams where you look at them and you go, who's your favourite player? Because they're all amazing. I've loved Frankie de Jong forever, but he seems to be back to his best, in my opinion. Yamal scored a goal last night, which was just absolute silk, and he made it look easy because the technique when you come in from that right-hand side onto your left foot, even though that ball was slightly behind him, and you're going to sort of whip it into the top corner, normally you put a bit of pace on it. Normally you aim for the stanchion or the crossbar just to have that little bit of dip, but you've got to put some whip on it. He didn't. He just sort of caressed it into the top corner. It was so smooth.
Ridiculous.
And the kid at 17, I mean, we're like, you know, we've seen a lot of Messi when he was like 16, 17. And I'm not saying he's going to be as good because Messi's done it for like 15, 20 years. But my days, like, in terms of like comparing where Messi was at his age and Yamal at his age, I mean, they must be like very, very even because the standard these two guys have produced at a very young age is off the charts.
Yeah, he is a remarkable talent. And there is an argument to be made where, you know, you could say, would Lamine Yamal had, progressed that rapidly into the first team in the era of Messi when he obviously, came a little, Patrick Kluivert was waiting his time for him. But you cannot deny the talent. He's already a European champion, of course. The goal, as you mentioned, is yesterday. Somebody said that sometimes it feels like he's a combination of the best of Neymar and the best of Messi in one person because he drags you so much. And obviously, there is way too much pressure on this man right now, but it seems that he just takes it in stride. That goal was ridiculous. The assist was amazing.
I think he's just has to be a little bit careful, LME. Do you agree? I think in terms of like we've looked at Gavi and Pedri, young players picking up injuries, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but at some point you're going to try and take them out the limelight a little bit and try and figure out which games you can try and give them that little bit of rest because you don't want burnout and you wouldn't want the kid to pick up an injury because he's so good and he's going to be a generational talent. But you're right, mate. You watch him and you just can't help but try and look at Messi or a Neymar or whoever, you know, graced Barca or the great Spanish sides in that right-hand side, because he moves well, doesn't he? You know, he's got the balance.
So
He's so good. I mean, I honestly thought, I don't know if you agree, but I thought his assist was lucky for Rafinha. I thought he was trying to score. So when you're hot, you're hot. I just think it was one of them. I think he was trying to curl it in and it just took a little bobble. But hey, Rafinha was there to finish it off. But the kid's magic.
Fortune favors the brave. And like you said, like, you know, when everything's clicking, everything is clicking. But I think your point about Hansi Flick maybe overusing them, I think he has no choice, right? Just because of Barcelona's financial situation, he's had to graduate so many kids. But regardless, tremendous performance. Rafinha, by the way, his double yesterday means that he's now contributed to 16 goals in the Champions League this season, which is just remarkable. Give it to him. Only Lionel Messi, by the way, when he had 14 goals and 5 assists in 2011-2012, has had a hand in more goals in a single season for Barcelona than Rafinha. But it's remarkable from, you know, his trajectory. I mean, he was playing for Leeds United, now Barcelona, 13 goals and 13 assists in the league as well. Regardless, Barcelona, to me, because they face now the winner of Borussia Dortmund and Lille, looking very good for that semi-final spot. So, you know, it's going to be pretty remarkable. Let's move on here. We've already talked PSG, Liverpool, and now let's move on to the all-Bundesliga affair, by the way. I guess normal order has been restored because Bayern Munich absolutely took care of business against Bayer Leverkusen, making that their 6th straight appearance in the Champions League quarterfinals. Harry Kane opened the scoring, the first English striker, by the way, to score 10 goals in a single Champions League season before setting up himself for Alphonso Davies for the second, 5-0 in aggregate. Were you impressed by Bayern Munich, or was it more of a disappointment for Bayer Leverkusen?
I think they lost it in the first leg, to be honest, when they got the red card. And I'm not sure why Xabi Alonso rotated the goalkeeper or changed the goalkeeper, which was a massive gamble. And then, you know, you talk fine margins. And then I think Bayern this season have looked really strong. And I mentioned 2 teams before when we were talking PSG, Liverpool, and there's 5 teams. These are a team in Bayern that I feel as though can win it for the first time in quite a while. I never felt that way the last 4 or 5 years in the Champions League. I didn't think they had the tools or had the quality. Now I'm watching them thinking when they're on it, they're on it. There was too much for Leverkusen. Leverkusen were a side last year that were going for the treble. They've done amazing. I think Xabi Alonso done amazing. It was a team that was scoring last-minute goals every other week, whether it was in Europe or domestically. They've lost that little bit of sparkle. I'm never a fan of a manager, and I know he's got a good record against Bayern, but he doesn't play his strikers, doesn't seem to. He tries to play false nines or guys that can play wide areas. And I think when you come up against Bayern, you've got to really take the game to them. I don't think you can sit off and allow Bayern to dominate possession. Their ball players are too good. Their wide players, the front men and Harry Kane, as you said, is too good when you give him chances. But what I would say, in the 5 goals that they conceded, nearly every single goal was avoidable. They were bad goals to concede.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think Leverkusen opened the doors in more ways than one from Bayern Munich. And by the way, I think no Florian Wirtz as well kind of helped Bayern's cause. But collectively speaking, when Bayern play well, it's just they're unstoppable because it's Harry Kane, Musiala, Alphonso Davies is pushing them. Joshua Kimmich is feeling more comfortable now. Like, there's just so many weapons, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. Can they win it all, do you think?
They can. Absolutely, they can. I mean, Hansi Flick plays a high line, which I've never seen before in terms of how actually high it is. It's incredible. I mean, he's a gambler. You know, if you're tactically going up against Bayern, if you can soak up a little bit of pressure and hit them on the counter, but going a little bit longer, the line that Bayern plays, sorry, Vincent Kompany plays, is like incredibly high. Hansi Flick does it as well at Barca, but they do it. The two managers are really brave in terms of how high their line is, because they're more or less on the halfway line. You know, so there's a way tactically to try and beat Barca and beat Bayern at the same time. But when Bayern sort of pen you in and they trap you in and they pressurize you from the front and from wide areas, they're difficult to play against, because you've got to have 2 different game plans. You've got to have one where you're really precise and try and play through all the lines and through the pressure, or bypass that midfield and go a little bit longer, because I think that's where Bayern are a little bit vulnerable at times. They haven't been flawless, but the way they play and the way Barca play, I think they're very, very similar in terms of what their tactics and what their DNA is like. So they can be beat, but I think both can go very deep into the competition.
Yeah, Hansi Flick being the former Bayern Munich manager, of course, applying some of the systems to Barcelona. Vincent Kompany finally really feeling like, this Bayern Munich side is clicking. And when you have Harry Kane, who is just the best number 9 out there, in my opinion, like he does everything so well.
Assist was lovely, wasn't it? Little assist over the top.
The whole team goal was just, he's just so good. So Bayern Munich, watch out for them. The last time they won the Champions League was in 2020 against PSG and 1-0 score there. And finally, Internazionale against Feyenoord. Don, I don't know about you. I've always called Simone Inzaghi the most underrated manager in European football. He just does it over and over, because I don't think people understand that the complexities, especially financially, of what Inter have to do day in and day out, and then compete against the giants of the European game is remarkable. They're top of Serie A right now. They're in the semifinals of Coppa Italia. And after beating Feyenoord 2-1 yesterday, obviously the aggregate was 4-1. Inzaghi's side will now face Bayern Munich next month as they continue to make their second Champions League final in 3 seasons. Can Inter beat Bayern Munich?
I think they can. I think Inzaghi, as you said, I think he's a grand master. He's an amazing manager. I go back to the Arsenal game when arguably the best left wing back in world football, left-sided, is Federico Di Marco, and the best left-sided centre back is Bastoni. He dropped them both, and I say dropped them because he did drop them. And he played Jan Bisek, who's a really sort of physical left-sided player who's a centre-back, but he's more physical than Bastoni. And he played Darmian on that side instead of Federico Di Marco just to stop Arsenal, because Arsenal going forward are really strong when Bukayo Saka and Ødegaard are on that right-hand side. That's their strength. So he realised that. So he realised the way to stop Arsenal is by not playing my best players, is by playing more defensive-minded players to stop Arsenal. So you're right. He's a tactician. He's a master tactician. He's a grand master, to use a chess terminology. They're a team full of pawns that play like queens because, they're amazing. They'll sacrifice themselves for the greater good of the team. And this Inter side have been a dangerous side for a fair few years now. They couldn't get over the line against Man City. They were really, really unlucky not to. So it wouldn't surprise me if Inzaghi's team goes strong. They're battling in Serie A to try and win the Scudetto the second time in a row. So they've got an awful battle on there with Napoli and Atalanta. But the way they play and the players that they've got are playing at an extremely high level. And as I said, all those pawns will sacrifice themselves for the greater good of the win.
Yeah, and Lautaro Martinez, of course, when he's feeling it, he's feeling it. And again, I say it again, Simone Inzaghi, a tremendous, tremendous manager. That should be a real tactical battle, that one, Inter against Bayern Munich. All right, let's move on here for today's matches. Leo and Dortmund are 1-0. That's the early kickoff. I'll wrap up with Villa and Brugge. Okay, don't worry about it.
Come on,
Arsenal,
Villa. Come on, Villa.
Absolutely. Don't worry. We'll save some time in the show to talk about some Villa. But Arsenal already took care of business against PSG, you would say. So let's focus here on the Madrid Derby. It was the 2016 final, by the way, everybody. Real Madrid won on penalties. This game in particular, they're coming into it with a 2-1 lead for Los Blancos Ancelotti's team. Mbappe was criticized in the first leg, but he did score this weekend against Rayo Vallecano. This is going to be, a ridiculous game, I'm imagining, Don Hutchison, just because it's at the Wanda Metropolitano. Atleti also lost this past weekend. This is a big game. What do you expect here?
Do you know what? This game is one of them. I'll be watching this game tonight. It's one that I'll tune into live out of all the games. And this game is a bucket of popcorn. It's sit there and it's just enjoy the show, because it's going to be like PSG, Liverpool last night. The quality of players on the show. Ali Moreno. I don't know if you tuned into our bet on FC. And at the very start of the season, when Atleti signed Alexander Sorloth, who I've seen a really lot of. I know he had a fantastic season last year, but I've seen a lot of him when he was in England at Crystal Palace. And I said to him, I'll bet you a steak and lobster dinner he doesn't score 10 league goals. He hit 10 last week. So I owe Ali a steak and lobster dinner.
Oh, no.
Honestly, the bet should have been he won't start 10 games because he never starts. But the effect that he has coming off the bench, he only plays 5 minutes every single week and seems to score. So, I mean, Rodri, you talk about players that are underrated, right? You talk players before and you think, oh, are they underrated as a team? Are they gone under the radar? Are these individuals underrated? I mean, Rodrigo's a name that's underrated. He gets lost in the Kylian Mbappe and the Vinny Jr. chat, doesn't he? Because this kid is another phenomenal player. But this is a game where if Mbappe's fit, I read today that there might be some tests on an ankle that he might be going through today to try and pass him fit for tonight's game. I expect Real Madrid to win it because they've got too much firepower. But Atleti at home at the Wanda, I mean, it's not the Calderon, is it? It's not quite the Calderon where that was pretty, that was formidable. I give Atleti a chance, but I think you have to say Real Madrid would be favourites.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult in this one. As you mentioned, it's definitely a popcorn type of match. Second of all, I never, ever want to lose any kind of it to Ale Moreno because he'll never let you forget about it.
I mean, honestly, all I'm getting is emojis of steak and lobster. Every Saturday, I'm getting a steak one week and a lobster.
Just block him. Just block him. That's what I do. But this is going to be a ridiculous match for many reasons. The report suggests that Mbappe has passed those tests and he will play. You mentioned Rodrigo. I mentioned it last week in the show. I think any other team, that Brazilian is the main star. He is just a ridiculous talent.
I mean, if you're someone like Liverpool, LME,
anywhere else.
Go and sign him. Go and sign the kid.
Absolutely. Anywhere else. All right, so we got some questions here because this game is obviously going to be really, really good. By the way, for transparency, way back when this fixture was first announced, I said Atleti's going to do it. So I'm going to stick with that. I think they're going to do it, but obviously you can never kill Real Madrid. But let me ask you this. So here's a question. First question from our viewers. Thanks for watching, everybody. ESPN FC Live. Make sure to subscribe. Don, where will Atleti look to exploit Madrid?
I think what they'll do is they will never change their game plan. Even when they went 1-0 down last week, they didn't force it. They'll try and suffocate Real Madrid. And when I say suffocate, I don't mean they'll suffocate with possession because they won't have the possession, but they'll be dogged. They'll try and frustrate. And then they've got the quality. The Julian Alvarez signing has just been a remarkable signing. I mean, I called it in the summer when Man City sold him. That was a ludicrous sale without bringing someone of his standard in because he's such a good player and he's banging form this season. Griezmann's one of these players where when he retires, I think he'll be one of these players where actually everyone will go, actually, what an amazing player he was. At the minute, we all know he's an amazing player, but I think fans get a little bit lost because there's one thing that can never be beat, and that's Father Time. And it seems to be catching up to him, but still you can't lose that quality. So I think what they'll try and do is they'll sit in, even if they're under pressure, they will not panic. They've got that DNA under Simeone where they will not panic. It's not in their style to panic. It's not in their style to go, right, let's just get everyone forward. Let's play sort of like kamikaze football and let's commit. It's not their style. What they'll try and do is they'll try and sit in their shape, try and play. They'll use the dark arts. They might be rolling around a little bit, trying to get one or two players on yellow cards. And once you're on a yellow card, they'll be trying to get them on reds. And I'm not saying they're dirty or anything like that, but sometimes you've got to use those dark arts. That'll be their game plan tonight. And it wouldn't surprise me. Even if Real Madrid scored early, they will not change their game plan. So that's a side of them that can be applauded because they'll never, ever give in.
Yeah, the masters of the low block. We'll have to wait and see what happens here against Real Madrid. We're running out of time. Before I get it to Villa, we'll go one more question here. Who would Arsenal rather face, Don, do you think? Real Madrid or Atleti?
Atleti. I think so. I think Real Madrid will turn Arsenal over big time, and I think they'll turn them over very easy.
Yeah, I think you know exactly what you're getting with Atleti. You don't know what you're going to get with Real Madrid, and I think that probably scares.
I mean, what they on at the minute, LME? They're on 15 Champions Leagues, aren't they? I think when we blink, they'll be on 20.
Yeah. They're a machine. They're like Jason from Halloween. You can't kill them, so you got to wait and see what happens. All right. Before we go, everybody, the other one is Aston Villa against Brugge. Quick thoughts on that one, Don, before I say my piece.
You know, it's a Villa win. They got too much quality. I mean, I actually thought Brugge were quite good in the first leg. I think
they were very good.
I think the 3-1 flattered them, but Villa Park, Champions League night, be amazing atmosphere. Whether it's Ramsey, whether it's Morgan Rogers, whether it's Asensio, whether it's Rashford, Ollie Watkins, Villa have got too much class going forward.
Yeah, I agree. Although Unai Emery says nothing changes here, and I like that kind of mentality going to Villa Park. as you were. Listen, everybody, I've been supporting this club since I was 12 years old when I immigrated to England from Peru when I was 12. This club changed my life. So that's why people joke on ESPN about it, because I love Villa so much. And this is the first time in my lifetime that I will see Aston Villa compete for a Champions League spot in the quarterfinals. It's the first time in the Premier League era where Villa are in this situation, not since.
So let me ask you a question then. Let me ask you a quick one. Do you tune into the Villa game or do you tune into the Real Madrid Atleti game?
Oh, the Atleti Real Madrid game is on my phone. I'm watching Villa on the big screen.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna try my hardest so we can make a trip if we make it to PSG. But the main component is this: 6 years ago, Don Hutchison, this club was in the Championship.
Yeah.
Less than 3 years. In less than 3 years, when Villa were fighting relegation, the waters of relegation, Unai Emery has taken this club to the Champions League and now it chances the course. It's amazing. But I agree with you. There's just too much offensive talent. Up the Villa. Good luck to everybody today. Thank you so much for watching. We got one more question. I'll ask you this one. How far can Villa go, Don Hutchison? They don't want to ask me that.
No, I mean, you watched PSG last night and, I mean, I don't think
Unai Emery's former club, Don.
I know. No, hey, listen, I'm not saying it's too much because we've seen enough football over the last million years to know anyone can produce a result and a performance. But when you watch PSG over the last couple of games in this season, I think they'll be too strong. But hey, if Villa get through, which I think they will tonight, and I think, by the way, because the draw's been made, which I don't know what your opinion is on the format. I love the format. But I can't stand the fact that you know who you're going to play from here to the final.
Yeah, I hate that.
I hate it. And if you're a Villa fan, right? Let's just say you win tonight, which is every chance, and we're pretty confident they will. I think you want to tune into the draw, going right. Who have Villa got next?
Yeah,
who have we got? You don't want to know. You don't want to know it's PSG or Liverpool. You don't want to. The good thing is though for Villa, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they've been drawn in every home game if they get to the final first, which is pretty cool for them.
Yeah, had we played Liverpool, it would have been the other way around. But playing PSG is Parc des Princes first, and then Villa Park in the second leg. So that favors them. But I completely agree with you. I love seeing who you get round and round. Aside from that, I think the format has worked wonderfully because it's made the bigger teams wake up a little earlier on. Hence, what's happened to PSG. This is the ball signed by every single member of the 1982 European Cup team. I'm touching it right now. So I'll show. There you go. So,
there it is.
So,
relax, mate. You're winning tonight. Relax. You're going to win. No stress.
My wife's like, should I come home early? And I'm like, if you want to see a really nervous person, yes. Anyway, Don Hutchison, thank you so much. Make sure to follow Don, everyone's social. He's obviously on ESPN FC. Are you on ESPN FC tonight, Don?
I am, mate. Yeah. Not tonight. Night off tonight. I'm just gonna watch all the games with my popcorn.
Love it. So make sure to follow Don there, ESPN FC on YouTube, everywhere you watch it on ESPN. Enjoy the games. We'll be back on Friday. A lot of Premier League action and, of course, the Carabao Cup final on Sunday. Don Hutchison, LME. We'll see you next time. Till then, bye-bye.